Hello everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Take a look at the smartphone in your hand. A factory made it. Today, we are going to look inside those factories. We will find some hidden differences between Chinese and Japanese factory rules. The rules for making things are changing very fast. If you want to understand global business, you really need to see these differences. Let's get started.
Here is our plan for today. First, the phone factory problem. Second, two kinds of computers. Third, copy, learn, and bro. Fourth, who knows the secrets? And fifth, fast bosses and slow bosses.
Let's jump right into part 1, the phone factory problem. Think about this number for a second. 230 million. Factories must build 230 million iPhones every single year. That is a massive number. You need a lot of workers, you need a lot of machines, but the huge number of phones is not the only problem. Timing is a huge challenge too. New phones always launch in the autumn. Because of this, factories go into overdrive in September and October. They must build almost half of the year's phones in just 3 months. Then, look what happens in November. The work drops completely. The factory must change its speed right away. This sudden change is super hard to manage. It puts incredible stress on the business. There is a famous saying in this industry: production lines are built and thrown away every single year. A smartphone changes every single year. Maybe it gets a new camera, maybe it gets a new shape, so the factory must change too. Japanese car factories might use the same line for 10 years. Phone factories do not have time for that. They build a line, they use it, then they throw it away. This speed is absolutely incredible.
Now for part 2, two kinds of computers.
Japan and China use very different tools to run their machines. Japanese factories use special factory computers. These are called PLCs. They are very safe, they are very strong, but they cost a lot of money. Chinese factories take a completely different path. They use normal computers. These are called IPCs. They're much cheaper. This simple choice changes the whole factory.
So, what is an IPC? It is just a regular computer. It is basically the same PC you use at home. But in China, factories use it to control giant robots. Today, about 70% of smartphone lines in China use these everyday computers. They run very complex machines. That is a huge surprise. It really changes the rules of manufacturing.
Why do Chinese factories love these normal computers? First, they are cheap. Second, they use standard screens. You do not need expensive factory monitors. Third, the software is super easy to copy. Imagine a factory needs 10 new lines. They just copy the software file. It is exactly like copying a presentation on your laptop. This speed is perfect for building a new phone every year. It saves a ton of time and money.
Let's move to part 3. Copy, learn, and grow.
Let's look at a company named Hikvision. They started very small. At first, they just made cheap, simple security cameras. They did not try to do hard things. Next, they moved those cameras into the factory. They used them to check if a simple part was sitting on a table. It was a very easy job, but they learned fast. Now, they do very hard artificial intelligence tasks. They use AI to find tiny scratches on metal. They grew step by step. They went from cheap cameras to smart AI.
Here's another great example. A company called InAdvance uses a very fast strategy. First, they look at expensive Japanese software code. Next, they copy the code to see exactly how it works. Finally, they build a much cheaper machine to do the same job. They listen closely to the factory. Then, they build a brand new machine in just 1 or 2 weeks. They give the factory exactly what it needs right now. This speed is a huge advantage.
This brings us to part 4, who knows the secrets?
We really need to ask this question. Who holds the real factory secrets? Does the famous phone brand know how to build the factory? Or does someone else hold that knowledge? The answer changes everything. It shows a massive difference in business thinking.
In Japan, the famous brand designs the factory. The big brand holds all the secrets. Their main goal is a long, stable life for their machines. China does things differently. In China, the machine builder designs the factory. The famous brand just asks for the phones. So the machine builder holds the secrets. Their main goal is to be fast and cheap. These builders fight each other to be the fastest. They want to win the market today.
Because these Chinese machine builders hold the secrets, they must protect them. Their factory security is incredibly strict. Look at this example. Workers cannot wear pants with metal zippers. If a worker wears a metal zipper, the security alarms will ring. The alarms are that sensitive. Factories do not want anyone to hide a tiny metal USB drive. They lock their building secrets totally away. They protect their knowledge at all costs.
Finally, part 5, fast bosses and slow bosses.
Let's look at the managers. The Japanese business system often has many levels of bosses. A worker must ask many people for permission. This makes business choices very slow. The Chinese system is quite different. They often use young bosses. These young managers make choices in a flash. They see a problem on the factory floor and they fix it right away. They do not wait around for permission. They move at high speed.
So, what can Japanese companies do to compete? They need to give power back to their business divisions. They must let smaller teams make fast choices. Many years ago, famous Japanese business leaders did exactly this. Experts suggest Japan must remember its own history. Companies cannot wait for the top boss to decide everything anymore. They must trust their teams to act quickly.
The rules of making things have changed forever. So, here is my final question for you. Is your business moving fast enough? The global manufacturing game is faster than ever. Companies can copy, learn, and grow in just a few weeks. You must decide if you are ready to compete in this fast new world. I hope this explainer gave you some fresh ideas today. Thanks for joining me and keep learning.